So thank you for joining us today. We thought we'd put a little bit of a video together because we were contacted the other day by Worcestershire Ambassadors regarding a challenge that they're hoping to help with, to help a campaign to feed those in need. And this kind of campaign is one that we kind of support anyway. We've got a lot of our vendors with their community fund donations donating to food banks, but Worcestershire Ambassadors are taking on a challenge of trying to raise £100,000 by Christmas to feed those in need. So on this video today, we've got a number of parties who are involved with that challenge. I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment, but you can see on screen we've got Jim, Robin, Debbie and Julia, and I'm going to put some questions to them so you can understand a little bit more about the challenge and what they're looking to do. So just to kind of sum it up, I had the flyer come through and they're looking to work with local food banks affiliated with the Trussell Trust, and they're raising funds for food banks in Droitwich, Kidderminster, Malvern, Redditch and Worcester. I jumped on and I could see progress so far. We're at about 8% with 7 weeks, 4 days, and I think there's about 2 hours to go. So still plenty of time, but this appeal is obviously to try and get this out to the masses and hopefully generate a little bit more income to help to get to that target. So we've got here Robin and Debbie who are involved with the Droitwich Foodbank. I'm a Droitwich boy myself, so I thought it'd be great to speak to these fine people. Robin and Debbie, could you just introduce yourself and your involvement that you have with the food bank in Droitwich to begin with?
Go on, Debbie.
So I'm the project manager. I've been project manager for nearly 3 years now, but I've been involved in the food bank in Droitwich for 7 years. I took over at the start of the pandemic and have managed it through all that.
Well done.
Yeah, morning all. Robin Mayo. I'm a trustee of the Droitwich Food Bank, been a trustee for about 14 months now, and I also help out in the warehouse, which is collating a lot of the food stock that comes in and help sorting it out. So it's given me a good feel for what is the importance of the food bank and what we do with all the donations.
Fantastic. And Debbie, you said you took over just as the pandemic hit. I'm sure that everyone in business was worried, everyone at home was worried. How was it during those times? I suppose it was hard work.
It was for the first 6 months. I think I lived at the food bank. Although we managed to stay open for our 2 sessions a week, and also during the 3 lockdowns that we had, we were also doing home deliveries to people who were having to isolate for one reason or another. Although we were only open to clients for sort of like a 4-hour period over the week, we were working pretty much flat out the whole of the time. The thing that we found, which just shows how amazing the people of this country are, and certainly of this community, is that the food just came flooding in. It was sort of like, obviously everybody was aware of the crisis and that food banks would be needed more than ever, and we had so much food donated, but we needed it because the number of people we were supporting had went up dramatically, mainly because people suddenly found that they weren't able to go into work, or they were having to isolate because of they were vulnerable through sickness, that kind of thing. It was an interesting time going through the pandemic, and also we lost 50% of our volunteers. At this present time we are 100% volunteer led. So it was, we lost 50% of our volunteers because they were over 70 and weren't allowed out to play. And so suddenly we were having to do sort of like 3 or 4 times the work, but with half the volunteers.
Oh, wow.
But we kept going. It was amazing. It was hard work. It was tragic, the situation that we were in. But the camaraderie and the team building that went on during that time was phenomenal, and I believe that we've come out of it a lot stronger.
Fantastic. Well, thank you on behalf of everyone that I'm sure benefited from your hard work. So the Droitwich Foodbank, could you just tell us where it is, where it's located, just for those that are kind of wondering where it is, in case they do have the need or want to deliver food to you themselves?
Yeah. So we open on a Tuesday and a Friday, and we're based in the Baptist Church, at the back of the Baptist Church in the town centre. So next to what is now Papa John's, used to be Barclays Bank when I started work there. And so we're open for those 2-hour sessions. If people go on our website, they can get all the details as to where we are and when we're open. They can also find out how to get a food bank voucher, because all the Trussell Trust food banks work on the process of, we like people to be referred to us as opposed to just walking in off the street. The idea with that, and I know people do find it off-putting when you're having to admit that you are in a financial crisis and you don't have the money to buy the food, to then have to go somewhere else to get a voucher to come and get the food. But the idea is that hopefully the agencies that we work with will also then start to try and put in place strategies to help the person out of the crisis that they're in. And that's why we really like people to go to an agency first. But saying that, if somebody walked in off the street and said, I desperately need food, but I haven't got a voucher, we'd issue them a voucher ourselves. We don't turn people away. So that's sort of where we are and when we open.
Oh, fantastic. So there are obviously other food banks that are going to benefit from this hard work that the Worcestershire Ambassadors are going to be obviously raising this money and doing all of this hard work. Do you get to speak to those much? Have they gone through the same period of pain as you, Debbie? Was it all hands on deck when the pandemic hit? Yeah,
so that's the beauty of being part of the Trussell Trust. The Trussell Trust has the largest number of food banks around, and we work as a close cluster with all the other food banks in Worcestershire. So we meet up about every 4 to 6 weeks and talk about what's going on in our food bank and share ideas and support one another. So we work very much together as a group.
Fab. And Julia and Jim, turning to you, you're obviously both part of Worcestershire Ambassadors, and I think you're trying to raise the awareness in the Droitwich area. From what I've been told so far, that seems to be kind of the area that you're helping support, with other members obviously looking after the other areas as well. Can you just tell us a little bit about why Worcestershire Ambassadors chose to support them this year with their fundraising and what it means to you guys?
Worcestershire Ambassadors, they're our role as an organisation really is to help the community. And with everything that's been going on in the world over the last few years, it just seemed like the most obvious thing to do is just to help. We're going through a period of crisis at the moment, and, a lot of people need support and help. And we just thought that with the Trussell Trust and the good work that they do and the support that they provide for the community, we wanted to help them. And that's why we're here today, really, is simply to lend our support and help. We can raise the profile of the food banks, we can make people more aware, and, we can do a lot of good. £100,000 between now and Christmas is what we're hoping to achieve, and we will achieve it.
I'm sure you will. You don't often fail, Worcestershire Ambassadors, from what I've seen and heard. And what will £100,000 do? Jim, is there a...
Yeah, we looked at numbers. We've got the figures from the Trussell Trust about the need for food parcels last year, and £20 will buy a 3-day parcel for a single person, and £40 will buy a 3-day parcel for a family. Now, we want to do this over Christmas because obviously times are tough anyway. Christmas must be desperate for some households. So if we could do that and lighten the load a little bit, we'll feel we've done something useful. So we took last year's numbers and we inflated them by 20%, allowing for inflation in food, which is probably more than that, allowing for additional numbers, and I'm sure there's more than 10% of that, but we had to start somewhere. So we're aiming to do that, and we're aiming to focus our effort in Droitwich to raise £9,000 of the £100,000 to go to the Droitwich Foodbank.
Fantastic, brilliant.
So give me £8,000, we'll be quick. We'll leave now.
No, you can help out the other. You can help out the other ones. You can do from Malvern, Redditch, Worcester, and Kidderminster as well.
Absolutely, we do that anyway.
Fantastic. So how is the fundraising going to take place? What's the plan? I've been invited to golf days. I'm sure there's lots of different plans. What's the Worcestershire Ambassadors' plan of attack? How are they going to do this?
Well, we've got lots of events that are happening. You've just mentioned the golf day, but also we want to involve the whole community. So one of the ways we could do that is to perhaps get schools involved where, you know, they might have a non-school uniform day. I know my children jump at that chance whenever they can, where they can donate some money. So we're hoping to approach schools to get involved, colleges, organisations, but individuals as well, you know. As Jim says, you know, £20 could help support somebody for 3 days. So if individuals want to go onto our website and donate some money and they can pick which, if there's a particular area that they really want to focus on, then they can. But we've got some leaflets out and about, as you can see here. If you scan the code, it will take you directly to our website and people can then donate as well.
Fab. And there's also an email address on here, which I see is chair@worcestershire.ambassadors.com. So if there's any schools that's watching this and they'd like to put their hand up to say they will do a non-school uniform day or something else, I guess, to support, then that's probably a good way to coordinate it. Would that be right, Julia?
That's it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I've just scanned that scan thing does work. It sent me straight through. I could see the bar so far. I could see how far you'd got. So a really, really simple way for people to be able to jump on. I'm guessing some people will watch this via their phone. So if they save it, they can go back and have another look. Or as you said, to jump onto the website, worcestershire.ambassadors.com. It's a fantastic thing. And Robin, tell us a little bit about, let me stop that share for a moment. Tell me a little bit, Robin, about the reason that you got involved with Droitwich Foodbank initially and your findings so far.
Yeah, I think it's a combination thing. I was invited to be a trustee to help because they're looking to try and sort of, you know, keep that evolving. There's been some long established trustees that were there from the start, and you know, that's evolving. So if anyone's listening to this, and we'll, you know, touch on it later, if anyone feels they can support as much as we want donations and maybe financial, you know, people skills, you know, you can be a trustee and help look at the strategic side of it. And then for me, it was, you know, I think most human people's trait is to help those in need, and I think we can all relate to that. And then for me, being a trustee, looking at it from the higher level, Matt, I think it was important for me to see it from, you know, the ground side of it, if you like. So I'm in there at the warehouse looking at what stock comes in from time to time, how local businesses do support it at various stages. There are some existing schools that run events around sort of times of the year. We've obviously just had harvest, so that's good for the food bank, but we can always do more. And the interesting thing is obviously we try and get a mix of food that we can make up. Because again, we've talked about the Trussell Trust. What's helpful with them, you know, the food parcels maybe have a balance of a variety of food in there to give them a balanced diet throughout. But that's complemented by sometimes we don't always get the right mix of stuff in. So we are purchasing food, and we also support with, you know, hygiene products as well that people need, because it's all about, you know, their standard of living overall. But it's, you know, we've got a good, I think Debbie will correct me, I think we're about 60 volunteers that all support in various ways. You know, we've become the size of we are now, where we, you know, run a van, because that's needed for, you know, for what's to and fro with collections and sort of the boxes. So, you know, there's a financial cost of running, you know, the food bank as well as the physical bit of the food. And just to let people know, I was looking at the stats, I think in the last financial year, you know, we're turning out and moving around 30 tons of food. So it's not an insignificant amount of food. And I think that was probably 20% higher through the COVID year. So it has dropped a little bit, but it's still a phenomenal amount of food that goes through, you know, through the books, as it were. So that's a non-financial, it's a physical movement of that quantity of food.
Wow, it's amazing. And it's quite an organisation, isn't it? It must take some coordinating to do that, because I guess sometimes when people come to you, they haven't eaten that day or even the day before. They're desperate really to get that food, and that's not to say that anyone coming in is going to be stigmatized or anything like that. This is if you need help and support, this is a service that's set up with a lot of, you know, great people that are doing great things for you, and it's to not take advantage of, but just to know that support's there to help you, as opposed to you kind of having to sort it yourself or struggle on your own. So So Debbie, it must be so rewarding. I know obviously it's hard work, and you must really see the great side of it, the way that people feel when they do come in and it's just solved a problem for them that week or that month maybe.
So a lot of people who come through our doors only use us 1 to 3 times, and then their financial crisis is solved and they can move on. But when they arrive with us, we ask them how many people live in their household so that we can give them the correct amount of food. As Robin said, we make sure that we give them a balanced diet, so they get everything from breakfast cereals, tea and coffee, they'll get pasta, they get baked beans, they'll get meat products in a tin that they can then, sort of make a main meal out of, and they get a generous 3 days worth of food. And what we're also doing is in our particular food bank, although we all run the same way, we each do different things slightly differently. In Droitwich Foodbank, we also give out Aldi vouchers as well, so they can go to Aldi supermarket and buy fresh produce, because that's not something that we give out. And when they're greeted, they're brought into the building, and whilst they're waiting for their food to be packed up, we have sort of a 10-15 minute conversation with them about what their crisis is, why they're having to use the food bank, and then we will send them away with phone numbers for agencies that should be able to help them move on out of their crisis. So be that mental health, be that homelessness, debt agencies, advice agencies, that kind of thing. So we've got something really exciting that we're just about to take forward, which I know Worcester and Malvern food banks are also about to start off. With the help of the Trussell Trust, we're building a relationship with Citizens Advice. In the new year, we hope to have an advisor actually sat in the building with us, so that when our clients come to see us, we can then put them straight to this advisor, and they can then actually get some, real groundbreaking work done to help them out of the crisis that they're in, be that benefit maximisation, debt advice, all those kind of things.
Brilliant. That's amazing. So it really is, for some people, it's the first start to solve a problem, I guess, then.
Yeah. I mean, yes, we're there to provide food because they don't have food, but the aim of the Trussell Trust is to enable people to gain control of their lives again, and so that they don't need to use a food bank. I mean, the long-term aim of the Trussell Trust is to live in a society where we don't need food banks. We're not just there to hand out food, we're there to try and do that a little bit more as well, and just
brilliant.
To listen to people.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's so important.
Superb. So Worcester Ambassadors, obviously you're doing a great thing, raising extra awareness for a community project or something that's needed anyway. Is there anything that you'd like to kind of say that we've missed so far that's meant something to Worcester Ambassadors in terms of their support they're going to be pledging, or will this go on into the new year? If obviously the £100,000 gets raised, is there going to be future plans to help? And not committing you to anything.
Well, that we have to decide that as a board. Our focus is raising £100,000. We tend to support different charities at different times, so it's a question of need, and it's whoever has the greatest need is the one we'll support at that time. Mm-hmm. But obviously, we, apart from the individuals that Julia talked about through schools, I'm writing to companies. We gave out leaflets at the Chamber Expo in 3 counties last week. Julia and I were picking on people relentlessly. I've also written to companies, I've written to the MP, I've written to some wealthy people. So our hope is that everyone goes on board, and once you start giving, there's no reason why you should stop just because the Worcester Ambassadors have stopped. You have the awareness of the food bank, and then you know what effect you can do by continuing that support.
Yeah, brilliant. That's a great point. And Debbie, I think you may have seen that some of our vendors have chosen the Droitwich Foodbank for their donations with their community fund. So £100 on completion, they get to donate to the charity or community group or school of their choosing, and it's great to see quite a few are heading your way, and hopefully we'll see a few of our vendors watching this and think that they'll donate as well.
That would be brilliant.
That's fantastic. And if anybody's listening to the podcast who either wants to find out a bit more about the food bank, they can email me and I can fix up to show them round. Our email address is on our website, so if you Google Droitwich Food Bank, you'll find us. And also we really do need some more trustees. You know, our trustee, some of them are coming to the time where they need to step down, and without a trustee body there to guide us through the future, you know, our food bank will be struggling to keep going. So trustees are something that we are, you know, really looking out for at the moment.
Okay, again, should they reach out to you, Debbie, via that email address?
Yeah, they can reach out. If they go to the website, although it is a Trussell Trust website, it is our own dedicated website, and from there they can email us and they'll find out a huge amount of information as to how the food bank works.
Okay, super. Well, I might just share the flyer again once more, if I can grab it here, so that the QR code's available for those that want to scan this QR code and head on to the Worcestershire Ambassadors link, which will allow them then to make a donation. You can also see that there's a hashtag, help us feed those in need, and there's Worcestershire Ambassadors, which is a tag, and also Trussell Trust, which is another tag. Droitwich Food Bank, you do have your own Instagram, I know, and It's very useful actually as a Droitwich resident to see. I think it's often in the story feed what you're desperate for. I say desperate for, it's often the thing that you need most, or and as Robin said, it's not always just food. There's toiletries and other items that do make a difference if you're running low on supplies. So local residents can, you know, help out, go and grab some of those bits when they're shopping themselves. Just put an extra one in your basket or in your trolley, and then pay you a visit. Are you open certain days, Debbie? Is it open every single day, or what's the best way for people to bring items to you?
Okay, so we're only open on a Tuesday and a Friday, but we have various collection points around the town which are emptied on a regular basis. So we have one in Waitrose, Morrison's, there's a trolley outside Specsavers. Most of the banks have got a collection point in them. And then if you're involved in the local church, normally local churches have collection points as well.
Amazing. So no excuse, nowhere to travel to then. It really is, it's around you.
Yeah, and I'd also like to say at the moment our latest wish list, and which will be going out throughout most of November, is for Christmas items, not just Christmas cake, puddings, chocolates, that kind of thing, but also things like tins of ham and tins of salmon, extra custard, because once we hit December, we'll be starting to put our Christmas items into people's boxes so that they can start to feel like Christmas is something they can achieve as well. So I know most people don't like to think about Christmas till December, but by December we need to have those Christmas items in so that we can start giving them out.
Right, great point. Yeah, I think it's only business owners that don't like to talk about Christmas too early, but
But that's the other point, is that if you are having an event at Christmas, we invite all your staff out for dinner or lunch. One of the other things we suggest you do is the people who don't come, instead of keeping the money, to get that money, which you've already technically spent, put it into a donation for the food bank.
Great shout, Jim. Yeah, I think this will get minds turning over. So businesses, you know, you can take this on yourself. You don't have to wait for Worcestershire Ambassadors to reach out to you or Droitwich Food Bank to reach out for you. They're busy anyway. It may well be that you can just pledge between yourselves something that will make a difference, and you could do a collection at your own offices. Though, you know, wait to see what the Trussell Trust food banks are requiring in all those other areas. We're not just live in Droitwich. We're talking about the Droitwich Food Bank, but it does make a difference in Kidderminster, Malvern, Redditch, and Worcester as well. Please do have a look internally at what you can do as a company to try and, you know, make someone else's Christmas better this year. We've had a tough couple of years, so it'd be nice to make it a nice one for a lot of people out there. So important in our community. Thank you all. Is there anything else anyone would like to say before we draw a close to this? Because it's been fantastic. I can't wait to watch it back. Obviously, if anyone's missed any of the email addresses or web addresses and they want to just drop us an email, then we'd be more than happy to put you in touch with the right people. £100,000 needed by Worcestershire Ambassadors. More than that's needed, let's be honest. If we can go for more, then that would be well received by everyone around. And on screen today, we've had some fantastic people who have obviously done this in their own time, and it really is credit to Worcestershire Ambassadors for doing this, not just for this charity, but for charities throughout the years that I've known them. They're always putting their hand in their pocket and working hard for others, so it really is appreciated. So Jim, Robin, Debbie and Julia, thank you for your time, and I hope we get to that £100,000 swiftly for you, and yeah, let's hope everyone has a great Christmas.
Thank you very much indeed.
You.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you.